In the heart of a bustling city, on a crowded street filled with hurried pedestrians, a man named Victor sat quietly at the corner. His clothes were worn and tattered, his shoes barely holding together. Many people passed by without a second glance, assuming he was just another unfortunate soul down on his luck. Yet, there was a calmness in his demeanor, a quiet strength that seemed out of place for someone who appeared so destitute. Every day, Victor would sit there, observing the world around him, occasionally smiling at a passerby or nodding to a street vendor. One afternoon, a group of ladies, who often gathered at a nearby cafe, noticed Victor. They were known around the neighborhood for their sharp tongues and often found amusement in ridiculing others. Led by a young woman named Arda, they began to make fun of Victor, mocking his ragged appearance and pretending to toss coins at him. "Look at him, sitting there like he owns the place," Arda sneered, laughing with her friends. "Maybe if he smiles, we should toss him some change." Amidst the laughter, a voice broke through the jeers. "That's enough," Chiomar said firmly. She had been friends with the group for a while, but she never found joy in their cruel antics. Unlike the others, she often wondered about Victor's story, and the sadness she saw in his eyes tugged at her heart. "You don't know what he's been through. You shouldn't judge someone based on how they look." The other girls rolled their eyes, dismissing Chiyomar's words. "Oh, come on, Chiomar. We're just having fun," Arda said, smirking. But Chiomar ignored them and approached Victor. She smiled gently, offering him a bottle of water she had bought earlier. "Here, take this," she said, her tone warm and kind. Victor looked up at her, surprised. It had been a long time since someone had shown him kindness. "Thank you," he replied softly, accepting the bottle. Over the next few days, Chiomar made a habit of stopping by to chat with Victor whenever she passed his spot. They talked about simple things, the weather, the busy street, and even the flowers blooming in the nearby park. Victor was a good listener, and Chiomar found herself opening up to him, sharing her thoughts and dreams. She didn't care that others thought she was wasting her time. She enjoyed Victor's company. Meanwhile, the other ladies continued to ridicule him, convinced that Chiomar was being foolish. "Chiomar, why are you wasting your time with that beggar?" one of them asked. But Chiomar paid them no mind. Little did she know, Victor was not who he seemed. Underneath the tattered clothes was a man of great wealth and influence. A billionaire who had chosen this disguise to observe the world from a different perspective, to see how people treated others based on their appearance. One evening, as the ladies gathered at their usual spot in the cafe, they noticed a sleek, black car parked across the street. It was the kind of car that turned heads, elegant and expensive. As they whispered and speculated about who the owner might be, a man dressed in a crisp suit stepped out of the cafe and headed toward the car. Chiomar looked up and recognized him instantly, Victor. But instead of the ragged clothes she was used to seeing, he looked polished and sophisticated, like a different person altogether. Arda and her friends were stunned. "Isn't that the beggar from the street corner?" Arda asked, her eyes wide with disbelief. Chiomar, equally shocked, hesitated before nodding. "Yes, that's him." As they watched, Victor glanced in their direction and smiled. The ladies were confused, and questions began to swirl in their minds. Who was Victor, really? The next day, Victor wasn't at his usual spot on the street. Instead, Arda and her friends received a beautifully crafted invitation addressed to them. It was from Victor, inviting them to a gathering at an upscale hotel. Chiomar received one too, but hers was more personal, with a handwritten note thanking her for her kindness. When the ladies arrived at the hotel, they were greeted by a lavish reception. The room was filled with people, and at the center stood Victor, now dressed in a tailored suit. Arda and her friends could hardly believe their eyes. They had expected to see the man they had mocked, but now he looked every bit the part of a wealthy and influential person. Victor took the stage and spoke into the microphone, addressing the crowd. He thanked everyone for coming and then shared his story. He explained how he had chosen to live as a poor, crippled man on the street to observe how people treated those they thought were beneath them. I wanted to see who would show kindness without expecting anything in return, he said, his eyes drifting to Chiomar, who looked both proud and relieved. It wasn't just an experiment. It was a lesson, for me and for everyone. As Victor's words sank in, Arda and the others felt a mix of emotions, shock, embarrassment, and shame. They had spent weeks mocking a man who, unbeknownst to them, was a billionaire. The reality of their actions hit them hard. After the event, Chiomar approached Victor, her eyes full of questions. "Why didn't you tell me who you really were?" she asked. Victor smiled softly. "Because I needed to know who you really were," he replied. "You were kind to me when there was no reason to be. You showed me humanity, without knowing what I could offer in return. That is rare and precious." Meanwhile, Arda and her friends were struggling to come to terms with the revelation. They had treated Victor poorly, and now they were faced with the reality of their prejudice. Arda, who had been the ringleader, felt especially ashamed. She realized that her actions had been driven by a sense of superiority, and now she understood just how wrong she had been. The next day, Arda gathered her friends and suggested they visit Victor to apologize. It was a humbling experience for all of them, but they knew it was necessary. They found him at the hotel, where he was preparing to check out. "We're sorry," Arda said, her voice barely above a whisper. "We were wrong, and we never should have treated you that way." Victor listened, then nodded. "I accept your apology," he said. "But remember, it's not enough to apologize. You must learn from this. Kindness and humility cost nothing, but they mean everything." The ladies left, each lost in their thoughts, realizing that they had a lot to learn. As weeks passed, Chiomar and Victor continued to stay in touch. They met often, and Chiomar learned more about his life and why he chose to live as he did. Victor was impressed by her genuine nature, and the two became close friends. He admired her for seeing past his appearance, and she admired him for his wisdom and humility. Meanwhile, Arda and her friends began to change. They were no longer as quick to judge others, and they tried to be more understanding and kind. It wasn't easy, but they knew it was the right thing to do. They had learned a valuable lesson, and they were determined to be better. One evening, Chiomar received a call from Victor, asking her to meet him at the cafe. When she arrived, she found the place decorated with a few familiar faces around. Victor took her hand and led her to the center, where he made an announcement. "I have decided to invest in a new community project, one that will provide support and opportunities for those in need," he said. "And Chiomar will be the head of this project. Her kindness has inspired me, and I want her to be the face of this change." Chiomar was speechless, but the smile on her face said it all. She had never expected such an opportunity, but she was grateful and excited to make a difference. Under Chiomar's leadership, the project began to take shape. It provided training and job opportunities for the less fortunate, along with support for those struggling to make ends meet. The neighborhood, once known for its harshness, began to transform. People were kinder, more willing to help each other, and the streets were filled with hope. Arda and her friends volunteered to help, using their newfound understanding to support the cause. They were grateful for the chance to make amends, and they worked hard to ensure the project's success. They had learned that true wealth wasn't in material things but in the richness of the heart. Victor's story became a legend in the city, a tale of kindness, humility, and redemption. People spoke of the billionaire who lived as a beggar, and the lady who treated him with respect when others laughed. The moral of the story was clear: never judge a book by its cover, for beneath the surface lies a story you may never know. Be kind, for kindness is a language that even the blind can see and the deaf can hear. Chiomar continued her work, changing lives one day at a time, and Victor remained by her side, supporting her in every way he could. Their friendship was a testament to the power of kindness and the beautiful change it could bring. The city was a happier place, and those who once mocked now knew better. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like and share.